Welcome back. Welcome back. Part two. So I get my phone. We read the CIA eventually determined that returning prisoners of war had not been subject to the advanced brainwashing methods described by Hunter. Nevertheless, the rumors helped with the funding and in disapproved allegations of using biochemical weapons. Early efforts in using drugs, sleep deprivation, sleep induction, and hypnosis to create a Manchurian candidate appears to be successful. In simulated exercise conducted in 1951, two hypnotized subjects planted and detonated bombs in response to specific code words. Look how nut that sound. Do you think they can put code words on the people and make them do things? Yes. Okay, yes, they can. In simulated exercises conducted in 1951, two hypnotized subjects planted and detonated bombs in response to specific code words. Both subjects were unable to recall anything. They had no memories whatsoever of their actions. Okay, so these two right here, they know what was going on with them. A lot of the time, you wondered where does information come, come from. Once again, I'm not reading that. That's probably propaganda. Not propaganda, but it's stuff that added to make the movie, to make the Hollywood movie sound good. In 1952, artichoke researchers used delivered codes over a phone or very subtle signals to induce a deep hypnotic trance. The two 20-year-old female test subjects in particular were ideal to act as, quote, unwilling couriers. So they got two young girls who they're going to put some type of implant in their brain or give them a code word over the phone. Okay, so once again, some more propaganda printed in red. You can read it. This is, if it's red, why do we have this? This is another layer, but we shall go on. On November 28, 1953, Frank Olson, a chemist for the Army Chemical Corps, plunged to his death from the 10th floor window of his hotel in an apparent, quote, suicide. This would remain the official story as far as the public and Olson family were concerned until the 1975 publication of the Rockefeller Commission report. The report did not mention Olson by name, but gave enough details for those familiar with his death to recognize him. Frank Olson's son, Eric, instantly identified his father after reading a Washington Post front page article published the day following the report's release. The article also revealed that Olson had been given LSD days before his death, a fact never disclosed to the family. The family eventually received an out-of-court settlement of $750,000, as well as an apology from President Ford and CIA Director William Colby. However, after having the body exhumed for burial, a second autopsy revealed that Olson could have been murdered. Once again, the red stuff. They gave it the red. Frank Olson became CIA involved with the mind control program as part of the NKNAOMI, a joint CIA Army program in which Fort Detrick scientists design and produce chemicals and bioweapons as delivery services for the CIA operational use. Dr. Olson and other Detrick scientists signed into a Spring Grove Psychiatric Institute in Maryland connected to CIA's mind control experiments. Olson's role in Artichoke had made him privy to state secrets revealed in the course of interrogations. including the alleged use of biochemical weapons, anthrax by the U.S. in the Korean War. The new information made the circumstances surrounding Olson's death increasingly suspicious. Frank Olson received a dose of LSD on November 19, 1953, as he attended an artichoke conference at Deep Creek Lake, a CIA retreat situated in Maryland. At the meeting, Robert Lashbrook decided to spike the whiskey with LSD. Some speculate that higher-ups at the CIA fear that Olson might have been loose-lipped and that he was subjected to artichoke interrogation to see if he had revealed secrets. Following the incident, Olson grew depressed and traveled to New York, accompanied by Lashbrook to seek help for his condition. He was prescribed bourbon whiskey and sedatives, an unusual prescription for depression, even by the 50s standards, by CIA affiliated Dr. Harold Abramson. Subjects 7, 27, 33, and 40. They checked into room 1018 at the Statler Hotel, where CIA assassin Jean Lafitte, not so coincidentally, worked as a bellhop. The next night, Olson crashed to his death through a closed window with the curtains and blind drawn, while Lashbrook slept soundly in the same room. Lashbrook immediately called a Long Island number and said, "Well, he's gone. That's too bad," the voice replied. Despite the suspicious circumstances surrounding Olson's death, the family was unable to file suit due to their previous settlement. This is what I was mentioning yesterday in part 1, Le Pain Maudit, The Cursed Bread. On the 15th of August, 1951, the southern French village of Point Saint-Esprit was suddenly struck with a strange case of widespread madness. A spontaneous outbreak of insanity rapidly spread through the village and soon affected more than 500 people. One resident jumped out of windows, believing himself to be a sparrow or a dragonfly. Another ceaselessly tried to remove a non-existing hair from her mouth to avoid choking. In the end, 7 people died, 50 were interned to psychiatric hospitals, and around 30 villagers were experiencing hallucinations. A local banker was accused of giving inferior rye flour, causing a mass poisoning. The following month, a group of experts arrived from Switzerland to investigate the source of the outbreak. The group included Dr. Albert Hofmann of Sandoz Chemical, the first man to synthesize LSD in his laboratory years earlier. They determined that a grain ergot, a fungus present in a regionally obtained flour, had been the culprit for the outbreak. Little did anyone know at the time, the group of biochemists were closely tied to the CIA. So look how they send people in directly to quell and quiet it and give the official story. I never like when you see the news sitting in front of the camera telling what the police say. You know, that we already know y'all the official mouthpiece of the government. Let them come and explain themselves every time they shoot someone. Don't you get up there at the news and do it. The CIA, who have been testing Sandoz supplied LSD and other drugs on unwitting subjects as part of their behavior modification research. Sandoz knew that the bread it had been testing for weeks was contaminated, not with grain ergot, but with a dimethylide-like compound. In 2009, researcher and author Hank Albarelli received a copy of a Freedom of the Information request he had made a decade earlier. The file included a document labeled, okay, so we know the red, we don't read the red. The document was most likely sent by the man by mistake yeah. They would send something by mistake. Nothing's by mistake. We're not catching them in nothing. Don't believe we ever catch them in anything. This right here, what I'm reading, is what they want me to be reading. He also uncovered another document sent to the members of the Rockefeller Commission in 1975, which also linked Frank Olson to the Point Saint-Esprit incident, also noticed Jean Lafitte's name. Albarelli believes that Fort Detrick biochemist Frank Olson had been involved in Operation Span, a joint CIA Army project under MKNOMI to experiment with the delivery of an LSD-like compound on the population of Point Saint-Esprit. One skeptic over at Skeptoid.com dismissed Albarelli's theory as well as his FOIA documents, Freedom of Information Act document, because the incident, quote, happened 2 years before MK Ultra was funded, despite mentioning both Bluebird and Artichoke in the same article. Once again, this guy's supposed to be on our side. Skeptoid, right? Skeptic name, you would think that. He dismissed Averell's theory. The so-called truthers fighting with each other, huh? Project MK Ultra. On April 13th, 1953, Allen Dulles authorized the creation of the Project MKULTA, an umbrella project which would eventually grow to encompass 149 sub-projects. This is a lot of what I think maybe these platforms are. You look at some of the channels, you look how they bring people in, it looks like their whole Truman shows. Someone's watching the reaction, the show, the people, the guests, the subscribers, and these are sub-subjects that they are performing on us with some of these YouTube channels. Definitely sports and entertainment. And 6% of the CIA's entire budget. Wow. He appointed Dr. Sidney Gottlieb to head up that name sounds familiar, to head up the program and transfer all behavior modification research to Gottlieb's Technical Service Staff, the TSS, the CIA's Science Division, also known as Technical Service Division, TSD. Meanwhile, Artichoke interrogation units continued field operations for years in parallel with MK Ultra. The MK is the MK Ultra cryptonym indicates that the program is managed by the TSS. It's difficult to find a single MK Ultra article that doesn't repeat the factoid that MK stands for the German for mind control. There is no basis for this claim. MK Ultra includes experiments with a variety of drugs such as heroin, marijuana, morphine, MDA, MDMA, mescaline, magic mushrooms, sodium pentothal, and alcohol on both voluntary and unwitting test subjects. So didn't we just hear about a recent celeb who I think we can probably cross out maybe 2 of these things he didn't have, everything else he had. And the one I'm crossing out probably was the boy. He probably had that boy. You know, I mean, he knew that's real time. Other than that, I say Diddy had everything on that list. He had it. So why are you getting a hold of all that? Who need all that? CIA doctors research non-violent methods such as hypnosis, but also use electroshocks, sleep deprivation, and other forms of torture, anything to achieve their goals. Aware of the stigma associated with working with a clandestine agency, the CIA used a variety of fronts to or cut out to keep itself insulated from researchers. The agency used cutouts, intermediaries between researchers and an agency to hide its role. The 2 major cutouts used by the CIA were the Geisinger Foundation for Medical Research and the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology. The latter created through sub-projects 48 and 60. So, once again, these are the rabbit holes they want you to go down. 149 sub-projects. He give you 48, number 48, number 60, huh? And not to discredit his work. Great work by Illuminati Rex. But it's just like something through the system feeds us enough to keep us going down the hole. Through these fronts, the CIA forged partnerships with prominent professors and researchers at American universities. Some had top secret clearance and the full knowledge of working for U.S. intelligence, while other researchers were unaware of the identity of their benefactors. Thus, the CIA developed relationships with over 80 institutions, including prestigious universities, hospitals, and pharmaceutical manufacturers. Okay, so that's why they came under a different name, because they didn't want nobody to be working directly with the CIA. But we can be the Geisinger Foundation. We can be Investigation of Human Ecology, Penn University, University of Miami, at Duke University, USC. Who wouldn't want to work with human investigation of human ecology? Who get money out the wazoo? A great number of sub-projects were dedicated to the procurement of drugs and chemicals. Others dealt with the development and testing of drugs and chemicals, while another group concentrated on non-chemical mind control techniques such as hypnosis and sleep deprivation. Some sub-projects dealt with program logistics such as renting or building test facilities. So, renting or building a test facility. A lot of buildings we see in our neighborhood, especially the old neighborhoods, we wonder why they were never bought out. They were being used. The majority of sub-projects were of direct interest to the agency and had reasonable expectancy of having a use in field operations. So they basically saying whatever they was doing, we're going to be able to use this. Others were meant to forge relationships with the persons of interest to the CIA. We're going to get in with that doctor, see what they doing. Get in that lawyer, see what they doing. They could be called upon at when needed at a later time. Others were simply financed to give the cutouts legitimacy at research institutions. The CIA financed a wide range of experiments. Subproject 119 sought to remotely control the human mind. Research in Subproject 136 was a study of extrasensory perception, ESP, to elevate its use in intelligence gathering. Subproject 121 funded research into African witch doctors. They always want to deal with the rich doctors. I have that video coming out. Curse of the Ubingi. Make sure y'all gonna watch that. I'm trying to put a lot of work in there. I might try to buy some stuff to put in there. Curse of the Ubingi. Subproject 143 financed the development of a bacteria for the sabotage of petroleum products. In 1967, the CIA successfully contaminated a Cuban-bound oil ship, causing widespread engine failures and breakdowns. Subproject 415 and 19 funded magician John Mulholland's writing of a top-secret magician's manual for spycraft use. Mulholland's manual was declassified and published in 2009 as the official CIA manual of trickery and deception. Whoa. We need to get with that. Subproject 35 funded the construction of the Gorman Building and annex at the Georgetown University Hospital. In return, Charles Geisinger offered the agency a cover for at least one agent and access to space and beds to conduct clandestine chemical and biological experiments. Jose Delgado, a neurosurgeon and professor at Yale, received funding from the Office of Naval Research, the Air Force, and Public Health Service to research brain implants that can remotely control animals. I have videos about how Alex 2.0 was said he was being remote controlled by an implant. Go check that video out. He's the best known for implanting the electrodes into a bull and being able to control his actions remotely. Yeah, in a bowl. And let me get this straight too. There's never been mice. We've been the mice. Never been no mice. We've been the mice. The CIA explored Delgado's work in Subproject 94, in which researchers implanted rats, donkeys, and dogs with electrodes to use them in surveillance or bugging operations. Later, Subproject 142, researchers would implant electrodes in cold-blooded animals to use them as delivery systems for bioweapons or chemical weapons, and for other executive actions. Spy speak for assassination. Send an elephant walking right up to you, blow you up. Hypnotic research. One of the early proponents of using hypnosis in field operations was the chairman of psychology of Colgate College, George Easterbrook. Easterbrook wrote Hypnotism in 1943, in which he dedicated an entire chapter to the use of hypnotism in warfare. Hypnotism. And in 1943, imagine him. Imagine how much he had been reading about this, and he read a book in 43. Eastbrook claimed that he could use hypnosis to trigger multiple personalities, thus creating easily commanded spies with no memories of their actions. A Manchurian candidate. Following the Moscow show trials in which accused defendants testified to crimes they most certainly did not commit, Easterbrook was called to Washington by the War Department. The professor soon ceased publishing, indicating that his work had become classified. He contracted for the Navy Intelligence and advised the CIA. Additionally, the professor took the unusual precaution of burning his diaries from 1940 to 1945. How you know he burned his diaries, man? In 1952, the CIA showed interest in Eastbrook's 1943 book and quoted portions in an internal document without mentioning the professor's name. In March 1952, the CIA also took notice of Easterbrook's book and cited some passage in the memo. Look at that. Look at that. So I say I don't read the red. The following year, Easterbrook wrote the military application of hypnotism, in which he described hypnotically giving his clandestine message to a courier. The courier would then travel unaware that he was carrying secret information. Upon reaching his destination, the designated receiver would use a secret code word to trigger the courier into delivering his message. The courier would have no knowledge of the message or having delivered the message. Easterbrook's name is blacked out on FOAI documents, but it is not difficult to identify him as the author when comparing the documents to his other writings and ideas. He also described how he could hypnotize an agent who believed into believing to be a hardcore communist supporter. The agent would then be able to infiltrate communist groups and, using the correct code words, be triggered to reveal gathered information. The subject would have no memories of being hypnotized or being a loyal American. He would actually think himself as a communist, the perfect undercover agent. Hands up how many people think they already advanced with this. And they can send this person somewhere, trigger them, a code word can trigger them, and they have no memory they even under this. They just are loyal to whoever it is that they doing it. For some reason, it make me think of that girl Megan Thee Stallion. I keep hearing all this information. It just make me think of that girl Megan Thee Stallion. I'm not saying she that, but for some reason she give off that vibe like she mind control. Give her a code word. I mean, I don't know who thinks she run around doing what she want to do. In 1971, Eastbrook admitted in a Science Digest article that he had successfully programmed and used mind control couriers during World War II. So this is World War II. That was what, the 50s, 45 to the 50s? In the 40s, 50s? Eastbrook ideas were nothing new to the agency. TSS and MK, nothing new. The guy's old. Nothing new to the agency. TSS and MK Ultra researchers wondered if his hypnosis could be used in field operations and continue to fund research into hypnosis begun by Bluebird Artichoke researchers. 8 sub-projects, 5, 29, 25, 39, 43, 49, 73, 28, involve hypnosis research, with some combining hypnosis with drugs, narco-hypnosis. A paper attached to a 1950 memo asks, can a subject be hypnotized against his will? And it concluded that it could only be done with the use of drugs. MK Ultra researchers successfully used hypnosis in simulations. In early 1954, an unknown CIA employee was given a false identity while under hypnosis. When subsequently confronted with her real ID cards, she vehemently denied and rationalized her own conviction of being someone else. Minutes later, she could not remember the entire episode. Okay, I'll skip a little bit. Okay. So they had 2 movies about Manchurian Candidate. I remember one. I forgot that movie. On February 10th, 1954, CIA doctors successfully created a Manchurian candidate assassin. A hypnotized subject fired a pistol at another subject before collapsing into a deep sleep. Of course, the pistol had not been loaded, and again, the subject was totally amnesic of her actions. And there goes the red again. Okay, a bunch of blacked out stuff. The CIA soon heard of a discovery by Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann at Sandoz Laboratories in Switzerland. They determined that Hoffmann's lysergine acid dilithiamide, LSD, might just be the elusive drug the agency had been looking for. Gottlieb tested LSD on Army soldiers stationed in Edgewood Arsenal in 1953 under Operation MKNAOMI. The CIA panicked after hearing that Sandoz was in the process of synthesizing millions of LSD doses. They feared that the Soviets might gain possession of the drug and were determined to buy the entire lot. Unfortunately, the U.S. military attaché in Switzerland providing the information was unfamiliar with the metric system and mistook milligrams for kilograms, a difference between 10 million doses and one. By 1954, the CIA had established a domestic source for LSD. MK Ultra was subproject 6 and 8 provided funds the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly to crack the LSD formula. So if you get I guess you get a business in America, the government will come help you. Too big to fail. I heard Jim Cramer the other day. He said, basically, if you can stay in business long enough in America, you're not gonna fail. You're not gonna fail. As long as you stay in business long enough in America, you're not gonna fail. You know? So, a lot of people, thank you for joining. If you read on with me, there we go. Get that up there running. Okay. All right. So. Thank y'all for being here. YouTube. All right, so we back rolling. By 1954, the CIA had established a domestic source for LSD. MK Ultra and Subproject 6 and 8 provided funds to pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly to crack the LSD formula. The company was soon able to provide the agency with LSD in tonnage quantity, allowing for wider testing. A memorandum entitled "Potential New Agent for Unsolved Convenient Warfare" described how to use a syringe to spike a cigarette with a dose of. Oh, man, I wasn't supposed to read that red. No one called. I wasn't supposed to read that red. So no reading that red. They also developed a field guide, LSD, some unpsychedelic application, but all copies lost or destroyed. The researchers were eager to experiment with the new drug. Psychotherapists believed it could hold the key to curing alcoholism or keeping in with the times homosexuality. The CIA gladly funded research grants, and as a result, LSD was made widely available through the United States. I have another book I want to read called The Peonage of the Oppressed. Did you know you can go and buy LSD and heroin in American stores just like candy in the 1900s? Because white people did it. So, yeah, they came and criminalized drugs. But I digress. Let's go on. The forerunners of LSD researchers were Harold Abramson at Mount Sinai Hospital and Columbia University, Bob Hyde at Boston Psychopathic, Harold Hodge at the University of Rochester, Carol Pfeiffer at University of Illinois Medical School, Lewis J. West at the University of Oklahoma, and Harris Isabel at the Center for Addiction Research in Lexington, Kentucky. The latter once administered LSD to 7 black heroin addicts for 77 straight days with double, triple, and even quadruple doses. Woo! Them boys were loaded. Them boys were loaded back in the day. What year is this? They did this. Load them up. Them boy were loaded. Whoa, they. Louis J. West, who had top secret achieved some fame after killing Tusco, Oklahoma City Zoo's beloved elephant with an overdose of LSD. Whoa. Louis, so he messing with the elephant. West headed MK Ultra's Subproject 43 and found promising leads on how to influence a subject's suggestibility to hypnosis by using drugs and sensory deprivation to induce a dissociative state. Interestingly, he was called upon in his role as a psychiatrist to examine and evaluate Jack Ruby, Timothy McVeigh, and Patty Hearst. Look how I got long. This guy keep kicking Louis West. He was also one of the many questionable board members of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation with ties to the CIA and MK Ultra, leading many to doubt the organization's credibility. So that's that fake book page I showed the other day. Fake book, I called it. About what's the guy said he was brainwashed. Harvard psychology professor Timothy Leary and others soon started experimenting with the drug themselves, giving rise to the counterculture. John Lennon said, "We must always remember to thank the CIA and the Army for the LSD, by the way," and felt that the Mann plan had backfired. They brought out LSD to control the people, and what they did was give us freedom. Some theorize that the CIA deliberately flooded the U.S. with LSD in order to discredit the New Left. Tuning in, and most importantly for the establishment, dropping out, as in dropping out of the political process. They didn't want us no education. But the CIA needed more. They required a realistic environment to test new drugs and the efficacy of delivery methods. Operation Midnight Climax. The operation subset subprojects 3, 14, 16, 42, and 149 involved CIA-administered safe houses fitted with microphones and cameras. What that sound like? Who else that sound like? Who else that sound like? We already knew he had that. He had all the goodies. Now he got what? Microphones and cameras, to which prostitutes lured unsuspecting Johns. Therefore, the helpless men were drugged with LSD or other drugs without their knowledge and observed through a two-way mirror. These operations helped develop sexual blackmail and surveillance techniques that were soon used in CIA field operations. So, isn't that what his homeboy Ryan doing? We're going to continue one more paragraph for y'all. We rolling. Gottlieb appointed George White of the Narcotics Bureau to head up the operation, working undercover as a seaman by the name of Morgan Hall. The agency first set up a safe house in New York's Greenwich Village and later opened similar safe houses in San Francisco. The prostitutes known as George's Girls were protected from arrest. Don't mess with George's Girls. CIA Inspector General John Ehrman strongly recommended closing the safe houses after discovering of their existence in 1963. Showing some MK Ultra guy. Ken Kesey, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Robert Hunt from the Grateful Dead. Theodore Kaczynski. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you for joining me. Please join me again tomorrow. We'll read Part 3, Illuminati Rex, Origins of Mind Control. Thank you very much.